gold down there, Diane. There's gold down there.
You're like their number one favorite guy. Because you won them cash. Hi, and welcome to the Secret Golf Tour Report for the first WGC of 2021. My name's Diane Knox, and Steve Elkington is here to talk about a tournament that, well, because of COVID, it was originally going to be the WGC Mexico, and it's been moved to a course in Florida that I think it's going to be a bit of an eye-opener for a lot of people this week, especially the guys that have to go out and play it. It's the Workday Championship at Concession in Bradenton, Florida. Elk, are you excited to see a course that, you know, nobody really knows a huge amount about?
Nobody knows a lot about Concession, but what we do know is Jack Nicklaus designed it with his old mate Tony Jacklin, and the name Concession comes from the famous concession in the 1969 Ryder Cup at Royal Birkdale down in your part of the world, where Jack Nicklaus famously conceded a putt where the two teams were tied. They collaborated on this project. This golf course, Diane, of what I've been told, is very difficult. Jack's put a lot of work into this course with Doak and Jacklin. They've taken a few other ideas from other courses, but it's very long, very demanding, but it's known for big undulating greens. And we've got a few players in our field this week, Diane, that have played this course that we're going to tell you all about.
So we've really been digging into Concession and doing our research on this course. Now, as you say, Jack Nicklaus and Tony Jacklin design, and it's been classed as one of the toughest golf courses in America. Now, a lot of people are kind of looking to compare it to other golf courses that we see on the PGA Tour, as this is the first time it's been an official event course. But there's no other course you can compare it to because Jack has taken so much influence from so many other courses. But when you look at Jack's most kind of popular courses, I guess, with Muirfield Village and PGA National, there's a lot of resemblance with Concession.
We'll find out as the course and the week unfolds, Diane, what this course is all about. Where is the holes that are going to cause the players the most trouble? The last hole right behind you is a very long par four that plays back into the wind. If we know Jack Nicklaus, the first thing I always thought about when I went to a Jack Nicklaus course, Diane, was how is Jack, when he designed this, how would he do it? Yeah. And I always pictured myself as thinking about Jack would hit it up with a high fade. And I used to try to prepare myself to think that every hole is going to be kind of set up for the high fade second shot. So we're going to see as it unfolds.
What would Jack do? You've told me that so many times before that's your playing mantra.
It is.
The other thing is, and we're going to talk about the greens in detail, but the greens are really compared a lot to the greens we saw last week at Riviera, to Augusta National, and to Royal Melbourne. The Royal Melbourne comparisons are coming up an awful lot right now.
I think I should design a course and say, you know, I built it just like Royal Melbourne. It would make it famous overnight. I think Royal Melbourne gets the best press coverage of any course there is. Yeah. I spoke earlier today, Diane, about players coming back to the East Coast and getting on Bermuda greens. And what's the difference here? Well, we know on Bermuda greens that the grain is running to the west. So when I walk on the course here at Concessions, I got a 10-footer, straight putt. I know it's probably going to just slightly drag to the left. Players will be so thrilled to be able to simplify their thinking coming off Poana, where you get all these little ripples and bumps and everything. So, but this course is very undulating. So will they actually get that look they're looking for?
Yeah, well, the change of grass is going to suit a lot of people. But as you say, these greens are lightning fast, super undulated. The up and down is going to be very tricky around here. And they've also got those tightly mown kind of funnel areas. So if you miss your spot on the green, that ball is gone.
Yeah, so, you know, when you handicap an event like this, Diane, you know, when I think of statistics that players have accumulated over the course of the season, the history of their play at that course in another area, and the third one would be their current form. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't have any history. We don't know anything about this So what am I going to use this week? I'm going to take guys that drive the ball, squish it together with guys that hit irons the closest to the pins, and I'm going to squish that together with guys that putt the best. So I'm putting those three, I'm going to call it the big three.
Okay.
And I've got a re-rank list of the big three and who is the best at those three skills.
Okay. The other thing is the fairways seem a lot wider on this course and there's not so much rough. However, a lot of water around Concession and a lot of those tricky fairway bunkers as well.
Well, Jack's known to give you some width off the tee. He always has, but he prefers the left to right ball flight into the greens with the greens running away from you. Think number 12 at Muirfield Village. Think number 18. All these greens that have the back right corner way over there that would suit the high fade in there. So we're going to do a lot of that this week.
Okay, right. So with all of that being said about the course, let's look at the big stats that we're really going to use to handicap and re-rank the field. Now, remember, it's a smaller field of 70 this week and a no-cut event. So we'll definitely be taking that into consideration when we look at the guys. So ball striking, we're making that an important stat this week. Talk us through what that ball striking stat actually is.
Yeah, so combination of driving accuracy and driving distance. When you think about playing concessions and you have undulating greens, how do you get near the pin on big undulating greens? Well, the easiest way would be to be in the fairway. Okay. So I'm going to take that stat, Diane, of guys that hit it straight off the tee most of the time. But more importantly, I've got to get the proximity to the hole. It's not enough to hit greens and reg. I want to know who actually hits it closest to the pin from the fairway. And that's what we use in proximity. The third stat, of course, is putting inside of 5 to 10 feet, scrambling. But the big three that I'm focused on, as I said, driving, proximity, and putting. Those three.
Okay. So smaller field this week, which is exciting. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you our re-ranked top 10. Then we're going to give you our sizzlers. We don't have so much as fizzlers this week to talk about because it's kind of tricky to do that when it's a no-cut event. But we are going to touch on some other kind of bigger names in the field that we're maybe not pushing high up in our ranking. And then with it being a WGC, we have some names playing this week that might not be on your radar, but we're going to dive into those dark horse picks a little bit later on right here on the Tour Report.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game, pick 4 players, and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.
It's the Secret Golf Tour Report for the first WGC of 2021, the Workday Championship at the Concession. Now, this is a course that we've never seen on the PGA Tour before. It's near Sarasota in Florida. I guess, Elk, the start of the Florida swing because we have Bay Hill next week and then the Players' Championship.
Yeah, this is a quick ramp up, Diane. If Arnold Palmer was around, he would be so excited about all these guys being in their neighborhood, coming right over to Bay Hill, getting ready for the Players' Championship. But this is a big stretch. And players we know, I'm not going to say fatigue, but they know what this stretch is all about. Mm-hmm. They've got to play this week. Some will sit next week to get ready for the big one at the Players' Championship. But this is a massive event.
The other thing we should say right now, which we are going to touch on a little bit later in the show, is there's an alternate field event. It's the Puerto Rico Open this week as well. And you and I were just talking about it, that after that long stretch on the West Coast swing and knowing that there's so much golf coming up in Florida, for a lot of guys, they're either playing in the WGC, they're either taking this as a bit of a rest week, or guys in Puerto Rico are going out there to really get some valuable points.
Yeah, this week, as you say, Diane, the top 50 or the top 70 in the world are playing at Concessions. The next group of players are taking the week off, probably like your brother, Pat Perez, Jason Duffner. And then you've got the bottom end of the tour and the upper echelon of Korn Ferry going to Puerto Rico, a course that I know. I played it. Tom Kite designed it. Was lucky enough to play the first 2 rounds with Tom Kite when I played in the Puerto Rico event. I'm looking for superior attitudes down there. Let's not forget, Victor Hovland played this event last year, won that tournament, and I think we may even be talking about him today, so it could be a springboard for these players.
The other thing about the Puerto Rico Open, and it's mentioned all the time, is because it's the site of Tony Finau's lone victory on the PGA Tour, so I feel like it's brought up a lot. But as you say, Victor Hovland is the perfect example, and you look at what's happened in his career since getting that win there.
There's no doubt. We have another player that we're going to talk about that came out of nowhere. I mean, Victor Hovland came out of Oklahoma State with Matthew Wolff, who was so talked about. Now those roles have slightly flipped. Matthew Wolff has cooled off. Victor Hovland is hot and has won again since then. So, where does the big run start? Maybe this week in Puerto Rico.
All right, so we'll touch on that again a little bit later on, but we're diving right into our top 10 for the WGC Workday Championship at the Concessions. And we're going to give you our re-ranked top 10. The guy at number 1, I mean, it's no surprise at all. He was in contention to win at Riviera, a course that he's won at before, ended up finishing 8th. But when you're looking at ball striking as being an important stat, you cannot see past Dustin Johnson at the top.
Yeah, Dustin Johnson has earned his spot at number 1 ranking, Diane. He hits a fade. He'll be happy to get off the West Coast. Honestly, he'll get back to some greens that he's very familiar with. Everything calms down when you come to Florida, when you're on the greens. Now, this week, as you've said, the greens are very undulating. These players will be looking to get their ball into these flat spots, So Dustin Johnson drives the ball great. I'm sure he'll be back coached with Claude Harmon III, who's just down the road. So they'll get that little bit of driving under control. I saw him hit some hooks last week, which I've never seen him do. So he's earned the spot at the top.
What about DJ's big stat, though, which is putting from 5 to 10 feet? He's 192nd on the PGA Tour right now. How much... I mean, it's not hurting him a massive amount, but I did see him miss a couple of short ones last week.
Yeah, nobody shakes it off better than him. He puts his stroke on it, and we see him miss a lot from short range. He has a lot of putts from short range because he's so good.
Yeah.
But he's able to just keep shaking it off. I saw him hit some hooks. I saw him miss some short putts. But there he was, sitting in second place, going to the final round, still with a chance. I saw him grinding out the back 9, still thought he had a chance. The guy is just, that good that we've talked about this with Tiger Woods before. What game can he still win with on the tour? Is it B? Is it C? I don't know, but Dustin Johnson seems to be right there all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so he's number 1. Coming in at number 2, well, let's just hope Daniel Berger has celebrated that victory at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. He took last week off. If you look at his run of form, I mean, as we say, he got that win at Pebble, had missed a cut at the Waste Management the week before by 1 shot, had finished 7th at Torrey Pines the week before that. Daniel Berger has to be near the top of this list.
Well, we talked about the big 3, my big 3 squished together. He's number 8 in combined. He just come off winning at Pebble Beach with a 64 on Sunday with an eagle on his last hole. And he's back in his home state, Diane, on his home turf. And he's got to be, confidence is just bubbling out of him. So, yeah, he would have been the favorite at Riviera before he withdrew. We talked about him last week. He took the week off. So, yeah, nothing's changed for Berger.
We talk about the fact that not a lot of guys know this course, but the guy that comes in at number 3 does, and he's actually won on this track before. Bryson DeChambeau. What are we going to see from him this week?
I always say, never bet on Bryson DeChambeau when he's been coming off a month at home. Why is that? Because he doesn't play golf. He says he only practices golf. And I think Bryson, when he goes to Riviera last week and then had a terrible first day, we saw him on the range at night, the lights were on, and he's making adjustments from his course play. So he won the NCAA championship on this very course, Diane, shot 8 under par. He's rocketed up from outside of the top 10 before we even did our show. Why is that? He's probably fixed about 10 things that he saw went wrong with him at Riviera, and he knows this golf course. So he'll be sort of pretty calm coming into this event, Diane. And I just hope for Bryson that it's just not always about trying to smash it. Put it in play. You're good enough play. You've won here. So he's number 3.
As someone who plays golf, you still play golf every single day, and you're such a lover of the game and strategizing on holes. And why do you think it is that he doesn't play more when he's off?
I don't know why he doesn't play more when he's off, Diane, but for me, nothing changes for me on the range. 0. Everything changes for me on the course. I could be working on my swing on the range and feel pretty good, walk right out onto the golf course, and that didn't work, and I'm already changing something, and then it'll click. Okay. I'll look at a pin, I'll have to move the ball in a certain way, and I'll put my stance down and make the correct move for that, and I'll be like, I've got it.
Okay.
I used to tell my caddy, Bullet, get ready, we're getting ready to make a move. As soon as I get that feeling on the course.
Yeah, well, as you say, he was grinding on the range on Thursday night. They had to put a spotlight out for him because he was there until way after dark. So hopefully after playing, he's figured it out. And as you say, 2015, he won the NCAA championship around this course. So he's really the only one that knows it. And hopefully Bryson can figure it out this week.
There's a couple of other guys who were in that NCAA that we're going to touch on as we go down the list. Will have a huge advantage just to know this golf course.
Well, I mean, that's the perfect segue into the next guy who did play the course for that said NCAA. Xander Schauffele is our number 4.
Yeah, Schauffele, we've been watching him on TV for the last month. He, a great striker, played in this tournament in the NCAAs with the one that Bryson DeChambeau won, so he'll know the golf course. That's number 1. And that's a big thing, Diane. If you can take all the stats you want. We know that Schauffele almost won at Phoenix, hit a couple of hooks coming down the stretch. He will have fixed that, I hope. Getting back on Bermuda helps. But Schauffele is a great striker. I mean, we've got to put him in there. His stats, he's in the top 20 in that all-important combo stat we're talking about this week. So, yeah, Schauffele's earned his spot right there.
Okay, then. Coming in at number 5, we all know that I love to celebrate a win. Looking at Max Homa's win, I love the whole backstory behind it. We always joke that I pick with my heart when it comes to the SG Tour app, which we will get onto a little bit later on. But yesterday, Jon Rahm actually watched the playoff between Homa and Finau. He didn't just watch for the first playoff hole, he followed them for the second playoff hole on 14 and was one of the first people to congratulate Max Homa. I mean, how nice is that?
Yeah, Jon Rahm and Tony Finau are both members of Silverleaf Club in Phoenix, and they're good friends, and I'm sure they all know one another very well. But yeah, I think for Rahm, he had a hot finish. It looked to me like, he's sort of stuck in third gear. Mm-hmm. I mean, Rahm's a fader of the ball, should work really well this week on a Jack Nicklaus style course. So yeah, I think Rahm is just sort of getting warmed up.
Okay, so our top 5 so far: Dustin Johnson, Daniel Berger, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, and Jon Rahm. Not many surprises there when it comes to the world's best in a WGC. So still to come, we're going to re-rank the rest of the top 10, and we're going to look at some sizzlers. We have dark horse picks, and on the Secret Golf Celebrity Showdown this week, we are going to be joined by, she's one of the most popular girls on golf social media, and she grew up playing this golf course. She's on site this week, and we'll reveal who that is in just a little while. our tour report for the WGC Workday Championship at the Concession. So, Elk, this WGC used to be at Doral. So it was originally in Florida. It had been played elsewhere before that, obviously. But Doral up until 2017. Then it moved to Mexico. But just with COVID and everything going on, it was decided to move it back to Florida for the start of the East Coast Swing. And we get to see this Jack Nicklaus design at Concession.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this course, Diane. I've heard about it, never played it. I've heard it's a beast. We've heard that there's one particular hole that caused Nick Faldo a lot of trouble when he was playing here with Jack Nicklaus. Apparently there's a hole that has a big turtle back that you can chip back and forth. We'll have to see how that plays out this week. But, it's always great to see a course we haven't seen before, particularly my favorite golfer, Jack Nicklaus' design.
I don't want to get into what he said, but Faldo, he did say something, a terrible word about who designed this course. And then it was, of course, Jack Nicklaus. I'm sure he regrets that to this day.
I would.
Yeah, I would too. Right. We've given you our top 5 in our re-ranking. Dustin Johnson at the top, then Daniel Berger, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, and John Rahm. Now, we talk about the defending champion at number 6. This guy, of course, won it in Mexico last year. We have Patrick Reed in that slot.
Reed won this year at Torrey Pines, went across to play in Dubai right after that. We haven't seen. So, yeah, I think Reed has, when Reed gets playing well, Diane, he is, he's so unreal. He's one of the top putters. He's number 1 ranked putter on the tour. And, he's 4th in putts inside of 5 to 10 feet. This course will set up well for Reed because it's not that demanding off the tee, but Reed's strength is his iron play. And he's just gets the job done. Everything is stacked against him. All the weird stuff that happened to him in San Diego, self-inflicted, I may add. He's still able to just shut it all down and play. Mm-hmm. And I think Reed will be focused, and I think he'll play well.
He likes the big wins. I mean, who doesn't? But obviously, being a Masters champion and with the WGC last year, with the Ryder Cup, I mean, that's probably the best example. But it's like this fire burns inside him, and he just wants to go for it and almost prove not people wrong, but the people that doubt him or are against him. He kind of wants to get in their face a little bit.
No doubt. And, in San Diego, Rory McIlroy had a similar drop that was under scrutiny from everyone. And Rory, 2 days later said, I can't even sleep at night thinking about what I may or may not have done. Reed doesn't think that way. He just gets on with his golf, whether, he takes the ruling, he takes all the bad press and just keeps going. Mm-hmm. I think a little less self-inflicted damage will help Reed. So, mate, just hit it in the fairway and on the green. Stay out of that thick stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so with it being a WGC, I love these events because you do get a lot of guys from over the pond that come for this, guys that are in that official world top 50. And, well, I mean, this next guy, it's always exciting to watch him play. He's number 5 in the world. He's had 4 wins in his last 22 starts. Tyrrell Hatton at number 7. Now, Elk, a few things that I've heard about Concession, and it's not like you can compare it to one course on the PGA Tour, but people are drawing quite a lot of comparisons to Bay Hill, and that's an event that Hatton won last year.
Well, they may compare it to Bay Hill, Diane, but every hole at Bay Hill almost goes right to left. I think there's about 12 holes that go right to left at Bay Hill, and I'm betting, I haven't been to Concessions, but I'm betting with Jack Nicklaus' design, there's probably none that go right to left. So there might be a couple, but Tyrrell Hatton, Diane, I didn't believe that Tyrrell Hatton could play as good as he did a year ago, but he has proven me and a ton of people wrong. Yeah. He took down Rory McIlroy to win over in Dubai, put in a 66 on top of him. No problem a couple of weeks back. So, yeah, Hatton won at Bay Hill last year. This is going to start a new stretch for him. He defends next week right into the players. So, if I'm Hatton, he just keep doing what you're doing. He hits it straight. His swing is very simple. Mm-hmm. He just plays good, and he's been so consistent.
His stats are unreal as well. 5th on the PGA Tour in proximity to the hole, 9th in putting average, 32nd in that ball striking stat. And also we have to remember this is a guy who plays a lot out with the US on the European Tour as well. But those numbers are incredible.
Yeah, he's just become a force, and he's he's the best player out of England in quite a long time, probably since Faldo or Westwood. Even though Westwood won the money list last year, Hatton would be the best player coming out of England right now, and I think he's probably, you tell me, is he the best player coming out of the Euro Tour right now?
Yeah, I mean, has to be. Definitely has to be.
Over Fleetwood, over a few of the others, for sure.
And he's number one in that big three rank that you think is so important this week, the ball striking, proximity and putting average. So, I mean, how on earth do you ever see past that? The thing I love about Hatton too is he's fun to watch. He's almost like Jordan Spieth in that he talks to the ball the whole time. He's willing it to do what he's telling it to do.
Yeah, and I think that's good. I think when you let out that pressure, it's like an aerosol can. Some of that's nervous chatter, maybe for Jordan too, but let it out and get on with it,
Okay, at number 8, Brooks Koepka coming off that win at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. He started hot at Riviera too. I mean, made the cut, finished 38th in the end. He really kind of fell away, but we're seeing some fantastic play from a guy who really was doubting so much of his game and through injury just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I was big on Brooks last week. He got tripped up a little bit with Riviera on the weekend. He said he's been in California for like 3 weeks. He stayed out there. The reason I'm high on him, Diane, is he says he can't wait to get back to Florida to see his dog.
Oh.
So he'll have seen his dog this week. Maybe he'll even bring him with him to Concession. So I think Brooks is going to feel, I don't know if he's going to do that, but I'm glad he's going to get to see his dog, and I think he'll be ready when it gets back on the Bermuda grass.
I follow Brooks's girlfriend, Jenna Sims, on Instagram, and because I put my dogs on my social media, that's all I put now, and they do the same, and their dog Cove is gorgeous, and I love the fact that he comes out and says that he's just most excited about getting home to Cove.
Well, I've got 3 dogs, Diane.
We love the dogs. Right, okay, anyway, we have to get back to business because coming in at number 9 is, I mean, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but Justin Thomas had a shocker last week at Riviera. We know that he's got stuff on his mind. I mean, there was that kind of controversy of something he said a couple of weeks ago, the fallout from that, and then his grandfather passed away, and it's been a tough time for Justin Thomas. But with his numbers and with his attitude and knowing how mad he's going to be at himself over last week, we've got him right back in that top 10.
Yeah, there's no denying Justin Thomas. He's from Florida. He spent most of his career, living on this side of the country. He's very familiar with his turf. Plays these kind of courses great. As you've noted, he's had a few issues, but he's a man. He takes whatever's coming his way, moves forward. The passing of his grandfather has been very difficult, is what I've heard. So, nothing fixes that better than get on the golf course and play good golf.
As you say, he lives in Florida, so back on home turf almost for him. And you never want to see Justin Thomas playing badly. Like, it actually it hurt to watch him play below his standard last week at Riv.
Once you get out of position at Riv off the tee, Diane, is exactly what happened to him and Rory. They're forced to try to hit into the corners, and they couldn't do it. But hey, nobody can. That's the way Riv is. It eliminates people a little bit at a time. They just get peeled off. And we saw the 2 guys playing well at the end, Finau and Honma, hitting every fairway, every green, making the course look easy.
Yep. Okay, completing our top 10 is, this name a couple of weeks ago would not have been a surprise one bit. He's coming off the back of 2 missed cuts, but he has had some time at home. He also had a massive victory at the start of the year at the Century Tournament of Champions, coming off the back of extremely consistent play. So we're putting Harris English firmly at number 10.
Yeah, Harris English, that good form, Diane, cannot be too far away. I think he just ran aground out on the West Coast. I think he had a bad tournament at San Diego, let it carry over to the next week, took off and went home. He'll be rested. What would be the great goal for someone that started a tour out on the West Coast? I got to win. Everything else, forget about the rest. And now it's time to turn his attention to the East Coast, and he'll be ready. Harris English is a very consistent player, great swing. He's got all the tools he needs, and he'll be ready this week.
Okay, and he lives in Sea Island, Georgia, so he's an East Coast guy. Going down to Florida, it's going to feel nice and familiar for him to get that Florida swing underway. So his numbers are so good. We've talked about him at length, but 7th on the PGA Tour in scrambling. It's going to be important this week if you do miss those tricky greens.
Yeah, if you do miss the greens, who can actually pitch the ball to get it up and down? Of course, well, look at Matthew Fitzpatrick last week. He was on an enormous up and down run, but it became too much in the end. You've got to hit the good drive, good second shot, and make some putts. And that's what happened at the end at Riviera. So many people get off to good starts in tournaments, and I say, I told you so, they were going to do it. And I have to say, will you just please wait until we get through the whole thing to see what's going to happen here?
All right then, so our full top 10 for the WGC Workday Championship: Dustin Johnson, Daniel Berger, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, John Rahm, Patrick Reed, Tyrrell Hatton, Brooks Koepka, Justin Thomas and Harris English. Looking at those odds, I mean, these are the biggest players in the world, so of course the odds are like fairly even. Apart from Harris English, he's 60-1, so he's the highest up there by a mile. Coming next is Patrick Reed and Daniel Berger at 30-1.
Yeah, I like Harris English at 60-1. We talked about DeChambeau, who won the NCAA here. We talked about Schauffele. I don't think we mentioned that John Rahm also played in that NCAA here at Concessions. Harris English is the best bet on there at 60-1.
So still to come on the show, we're going to go through the Sizzlers. We've got 3 guys that really moved up in our re-ranking. We're also going to talk about our Dark Horse picks. Now, the thing about this is, with it being a WGC, we've got a couple of names that, like, they don't play on the PGA Tour week after week. So we're just going to kind of put them on your radar a little bit. And we will reveal who's going to be on this week's Secret Golf Celebrity Showdown for our big game.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game. Pick 4 players and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.
It's the Tour Report from Secret Golf. This week we're talking about the WGC Workday Championship at the Concession. Now, every week on the show we do the Secret Golf Celebrity Showdown. Last week we had Marty Hackle, Mr. Style, the most fashionable man in golf. And how it works is we play a game on the SG Tour Golf gaming app. Now, you pick 4 guys for your 4-ball team. 1 from each tier based on the official world golf ranking, and the lowest aggregate score wins. Now, what we're doing is we're keeping this leaderboard running for the whole season. Myself against Jay and Elk, and then the celebs have their own category. Well, first of all, for the week, Elk, you won money in our top 3 payout. You won $28. I was very happy for you.
I had the winner, Max Honma, on my team.
Oh, well, from the week, you were 12 under, Jay was 1 under, Marty was 11 over, and I was 15 over. So when you look at the running totals, you're number 1 at minus 42. I am last place at plus 54.
I am the epitome of the cream is rising to the top.
Oh, don't start. Anyway, it goes you, then Jay at -30. The celebs are +40. I'm +54. This week, I am very excited to announce we're going to be joined by Chelsea Pizzola. Now, Chelsea has a massive following on social media, like hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. She's a professional golfer, but she is actually working the event this week for the PGA Tour. She grew up right on the course. She's played it lots before. So when we were really gathering our insights on Concession, Chelsea was a massive help. She's going to be a lot of fun this week.
I'm looking forward to it, Diane. Chelsea, I follow her on Instagram, Twitter. She's great. I think I even know her from when I played in one of these celebrity events. Yeah, I mean, I love to have people that know about where we're going. She's working on the course this week. She's played this golf course. Can't wait to have her on the show later to tell us all about it. We may help me with a couple of my picks this week, Diane. Of course, those will be sealed in. What are you looking to try to accomplish this week, Diane?
Well, the great thing there's two things that are really good for me this week in our game, because if your guy misses a cut, he's marked down for an 80 Saturday and Sunday. There's no cut this week.
That is good for you.
And also, my brother Russell Knox is not playing. Even though he's been on a great run of form, he did miss the cut by one stroke last week at Riviera. And with him not playing this week, I can't pick him. So this is going to make me a little bit smarter, I feel.
There's no doubt about it, Diane. I can already see there's a couple of Scots in the field here that you're probably eyeing already.
Yeah, one of them I'm going to talk about a little bit later on for my dark horse pick. Right, we've done the top 10. We're going to talk about our Sizzlers. These are guys that really move up the re-ranking, and you should listen to the Sizzlers because last week Max Homa was a Sizzler. Also, Jason Kokrak, who is heavily in contention Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, kind of fell away a bit on Sunday, but the Sizzlers are working out good for us. And the first one is a guy whose game we know a lot about. He's part of the Secret Golf team. He jumped up a lot in our re-ranking, and it's Ryan Palmer.
The three Sizzlers that we picked this week, Diane, I told you earlier in the show that there's that three stats that I've squished together. This guy is number 2 in that combined driving the ball long and straight, hitting irons close to the flag, and being a great putter. Ryan Palmer is number 2. How he's not in our top 10, I don't know, but I've got him on top of our Sizzler list, and that's 100% for sure.
To be fair, he came in at number 11, so he was just pipped to the post by Harris English. But yeah, that big stat, as you say, he's number 2. Tyrrell Hatton takes the number 1 spot for that, and Ryan Palmer is just so solid, for he's 44 years old. So I guess when you look at the guys on the PGA Tour, he's in that kind of like higher end age bracket. That doesn't mean a thing because he is his form right now is amazing. He's probably playing the best golf he's ever played in his career.
Yep, I agree. He had some family things he's gotten through. He hits the ball solid. This is a long golf course. As we talked about, Jack Nicklaus designed it. Jack asks you to do extraordinary things on your second shots if you want to get next to the flag on Jack Nicklaus courses. He puts treacherous little corners of the greens that will only be accepted by the most pristine shots. And Ryan Palmer's, guess what? Hits a high fading shot. So there's a reason why guys are number 2 in all those categories combined. Ryan Palmer is perfect for this course.
Our next guy is actually number 4 in that combo stat. We saw him win in your hometown, the Houston Open, when the weather was very different because you guys have been going through it the past couple of weeks. We can talk about that in a minute. But Carlos Ortiz is our second Sizzler.
Had Ortiz on one of my SG Tour teams last week, missed the cut at the end at Riviera. But yes, Diane, he's a young guy on the tour. He's won at Houston. I think he almost hit the pin at Phoenix on the last hole, the Brooks Koepka one, hit it in like that. I think he finished 2nd or 3rd in that one.
Yeah, 4th that week.
Ortiz is already showing himself as a great striker. Now, when I'm on tour and I'm older and I look at this new guy coming along and I see this stats, it's like, hey, kid, what are you doing? I'm going over to the driving range to take a look at what's going on here because this is a new kid in town right here.
Yeah, as you say, 4th in the combo stat, but 21st in putting average and 23rd in ball striking on the PGA Tour, and that 4th place finish at the Phoenix Open just a few weeks ago. So Carlos Ortiz is our second sizzler. And our third guy, this name was a little bit of a surprise to me when I first saw it as a sizzler, only because I kind of go by maybe too much at first glance on current form. But when you dive in, you can really see why Abraham Ancer made big strides up our re-ranking and why he's 7th in that all-important combo stat.
I like Ancer a lot. And sometimes, Diane, when you start to handicap golfers, you have to anticipate the trend upward. Mm-hmm. Ancer doesn't have a lot of current form, but I just know that he's been waiting for this West Coast to get over with. Get out over here on the East Coast. He hits the ball great. This is perfect for him. This is a great setup for him.
Okay, I'm looking at the odds for these three guys. Ancer and Ortiz 100-1 and Ryan Palmer 75-1. That's excellent.
Any of these guys, if they're matched up in any matchups with any other players you see on the board, these are guys I'm taking in matchups.
Right, so our three sizzlers, Palmer, Ortiz and Ancer. A couple of names I want to touch on with you quickly, and one of them, I love a story, and this is incredible. Will Zalatoris is in the field this week. He has a special temporary membership for the season on the PGA Tour. He was doing incredible things on the Corn Ferry Tour, which kind of got him on the radar, and then the US Open that you're going to talk about. But for Zalatoris to be in the top 50 in the world and to make it into this field, I just think it's one of the best success stories in golf right now.
Zalatoris was not on anybody's radar until Winged Foot last year when he finished in the top 5 behind Bryson DeChambeau, and everybody said, who's this guy? He'd already won on the Corn Ferry, I think twice. He had qualified for the US Open to get into Winged Foot, and what has he done since he finished in the top 5 at the US Open? Now, here we are, less than a year later, he's in the top 50 in the world. Everybody's talking about Will Zalatoris, and he's in this field. It just goes to show you, Diane, if you can put the consistent golf together, any of these young guys, we spoke earlier on the show about Puerto Rico. Where did it start for Hovland? Did it start in Puerto Rico? Probably. Where did it start for Zalatoris? Probably the US Open. So the evolution of a player getting that momentum up the ramp and then being in a good form, Diane, starts somewhere. But Zalatoris was just something that I wanted to talk about today.
I think that's amazing for me. He hasn't had a victory yet on the PGA Tour. I mean, that win is coming, but it just shows that if you're going out there and you're putting together consistent rounds and good finishes, look what happens. Like already in this season, in Vegas at the Shriners T5, as you say, US Open T6, Farmers Insurance Open T7 around Torrey Pines. I'm trying to find the amount of money that he has made so far. I mean,
it'll be in column with the sevens.
Total. He's played 18 events, made 10 cuts, total money over $1.4 million. Just amazing. It's such a good story right now.
And the guys on the Corn Ferry, Diane, will be reminding themselves that they were rooming with Will and going to Hooters and sharing a room at the Holiday Inn not less than 6 months ago.
Oh, so good. The next guy that we want to touch on very quickly is Colin Morikawa. What are you seeing with him right now?
Morikawa is having some problems with his putting. He's changed his grip to the claw. I think he got some tips from Marco Mira on how to do that. But I'm a little worried about Morikawa. This is one of the best players we have on the tour. He's a current PGA champion. His combo stat is right at the top, but Diane, normally he would be a lock for our top 10 as good as he hits it. Fades the ball, perfect course for him this week, but I cannot put him up there until we get to the bottom of this. He's going to have to prove to me that he can putt good with this new grip.
Mm-hmm. Putting from 5 to 10 feet on the PGA Tour right now, he's 184th. So it's just the way that we saw him playing when he won the PGA Championship at Harding Park. It's not the Morikawa that we're seeing right now.
Superior striker, young guy, like Alexander Schauffele, very similar games, but right now there's one glaring weakness for Morikawa, and it's in that putting.
And the super undulated fast greens this week at Concession, probably not going to be the best fit. Right, so it's now time for my favourite part of the show, even though I am losing spectacularly. And, let's get right into that cheesy music.
It's Celebrity Showdown.
So this week, it's a big week with it being the first WGC of the year, and we are celebrating with a fabulous guest. Not only is she fabulous, but she is on site this week working for the PGA Tour. She's a professional golfer. She is an on-air talent and personality, and she's amazing on social media. So make sure you follow her. Chelsea Pizzola, thank you for being part of our show this week.
No, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and talk about this incredible and exciting tournament this week.
I saw you do an interview today with the owner of the course.
Yes, I did, with Bruce Cassidy. He is an incredible guy. And, to hear kind of his stories, he's actually had the opportunity to travel and play with Tony and Jack, and just to kind of hear some of the behind the scenes. And he's an avid golfer. He absolutely, he's golf obsessed. I was talking to the general manager, and he was like, when Bruce and I have meetings, it's hard for him to even talk anything outside of his golf game. So he, it was really cool to just hear the excitement that he really had about this week.
Yeah.
And that was a cool sweater you had on. I didn't know Lindeberg was doing ladies. Are they?
Yeah, they have a whole golf line for women. I'm actually rocking something else tomorrow from them, and wore one of their skirts today. They have a whole golf line.
Have you seen it, Diane?
Yeah. Do you know Marty Hackle, Chelsea?
I don't.
So he was the fashion director at Golf Dag.
Oh, yes.
So we had him on last week, and he was talking about Jay Lindeberg, and he had said to Elk, if you wear it, you're going to look like a high school physical education coach.
I'm too old for that.
But I love it. Their stuff's cool, because we were talking about Hovland wearing it, and it's cool. I like it.
Elk, we might have to get you to have a preview next week. If we have some kind of bet this week, if you lose, you might have to rock one of those sweaters, I think.
I'll wear a Lindeberg medium on here, up to here. Chelsea knows this course really well. And we want to get an update, Chelsea, of what I heard your interview today with the owner. You said the golf course is in super condition. You live there, or you have an affiliation with this course. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Bradenton, Florida. I went to IMG Academies, and my best friend growing up, her father was a member at Concession. And so he actually took me and my dad out there a number of times. And it's actually the first golf course that I ever beat my stepdad at. And he's the one who actually taught me to golf. And so that golf course holds such a special place in my heart. And it's really the first golf course that I ever had the opportunity to play with, C-level executives, and really be able to learn that golf is such an equal play, or kind of levels the playing field no matter who you're playing with. And so it's just such a special place for me. And it's so special because every time I have played that golf course, I know we talked so much this week about the conditions. There's never been a time that I played it that it hasn't been in tournament conditions. It's one of the most pristine golf courses I've ever played. And it's so cool because there's no houses out on the golf course. It's just raw golf. And, you walk in the clubhouse and you see all the memorabilia, and you feel the Ryder Cup energy. I mean, you walk in, there's a long hallway, and the first thing you see are this photo of Tony and Jack, and, the flags next to them. And it's such an energy of golf, and you feel the moment of sportsmanship, and it's really cool. And the golf course, just to speak a little bit about it, off the tee, it's definitely challenging and it's a little bit intimidating, but the landing areas are a little bit more open, I think, than, maybe they look. But precision into these greens, these are probably some of the hardest greens I've ever played on, not only because of the undulation on the greens, but also the size of the greens and then the elevation into the greens. I know if you hit one, great iron shot and maybe has a little bit too much spin, you could end up way down the hill and your chip shot back is almost impossible.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm already feeling sorry for you, Diane, because Chelsea, she's going to know she's going to know who to pick in this game. And Diane's been on a bit of a bender the wrong way, Chelsea. But of course, we talked about this. I'll let Diane get in here, but we talk about Jack Nicklaus is known for wide tee shots, but he's also known for real precise second shot. You nailed it on the head right there with the second shots. I haven't played Concession, but I know what Jack's all about when it comes to hitting iron shots. Diane, this is going to be your toughest test this week, I think.
Chelsea, the problem is I pick with my heart, and people laugh at me because I host a golf handicapping show every week and I give out all this information that actually is all right. The guys do pretty well. And for some reason, I am appalling when it comes to picking a 4-ball team. So,
if it makes you feel any better, my picks really were not have anything to do with statistics. So if that makes you feel any better.
Okay. No, that does. That really does. Right. So with our game, the way it works is I know that you've been on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app and you have your team picked. So you have to pick someone from each tier. Yeah. And the tiers are based on the official World Golf Rankings. And obviously this week, smaller field, no cut, the biggest names are playing. So it does make it kind of interesting, especially when you move down the tiers. We always say in a normal week, your guys have to make the cut because if not, you're going to be penalized for that. We don't have to worry about that this week. I'm hoping that's going to work in my favor massively. But we'll get right into it because we want to hear your picks and your reasons why. So first up with tier A, who are you going for?
So for tier number 1, this is hard because, you know, especially after looking at the list of names on the tier and seeing Bryson win at this golf course in 2015 with the NCAA championship, him already knowing the golf course. I think there was an interview last week with, you know, Willie Mack and Colin Morikawa, and they were like, have you played out there? And, you know, Bryson really having that knowledge, I really wanted to go with him, but then also knowing the green structures out there and knowing that this golf course is going to be all about iron precision, I had to go with the world number 1. I had to go with Dustin Johnson. I couldn't go any other way.
Well, Chelsea, it's a good pick. I was listening very carefully about you talking about Bryson, and I'm inclined to think that way myself. He's won at Muirfield Village, Jack's course. He's handled that course, and he's won on this course, the NCAAs. But how can you go wrong with Dustin Johnson? He fades the ball. He almost played good last week. You have to think that he got a lesson from Claude Harmon III and fixed that tee shot that was a little off last week, and he's got to be happy to be back on Bermuda grass, even though this course has a lot of undulation. So I think that's a solid pick.
Okay.
All right, let's hear it. We're ready.
No, that was good. But the other thing, going back to Bryson, and we were talking about this last week because we hadn't seen him play for such a long time. And it's well documented that when Bryson's off, he's not out on the course playing golf. He's on the range, he's working in the gym, he's on his simulator. So the Bryson that we saw playing last week at Riviera, you know, it wasn't the Bryson that we had seen, for example, at Winged Foot. But do you think that he can figure that out quickly and get back on track for this week?
Well, I can confirm I did see him on the range for a very long time. I also saw him on the putting green. You know, it's so funny because when you see Bryson out there, it's not like when we go practice and it's just us, you know, putting by ourselves. He has his whole team behind him. And I think there was 5 people putting with him. He had it wasn't a TrackMan, but one of the putting devices out there. And he wasn't putting to a hole. He was putting one and then he would putt another one, and his coach, and he didn't look like he was happy. He was kind of throwing it back and forth, and they were doing some type of drill. So I can confirm that he was not out on the course a lot and really honing in on the range of the putting green.
The interesting thing about Bryson, Diane was with me at LA last year, and Bryson came over to me and asked me a specific question about the golf machine, which I've known for a long time, and he couldn't have been nicer. But when you look at him like what you just described, Chelsea, when he's over there with all the guys and you think, oh, he's crazy. He's got no touch or no feel. Why isn't he out on the golf course learning the greens or learning where the rain is or whatever? But he's like 2 people, you know, real mathematical on one hand, and then he was real personable when he came over and talked to us.
Right. And it's crazy. For me, it's really, I totally understand where he comes from in the science. And I think, you know, being a former player and having something to fully rely on, especially in those moments where you're under pressure, I understand that. But for me, I am the most field player in the world. You know, my golf coach would just take me out on the golf course and almost make me close my eyes and visualize and hit these shots. And that's why I was such a good up and down player, because I could get out of anywhere. So it's hard for me to kind of relate to that. But, this week he's going to have to be one of those up and down players. And this course is all about that. So I am curious to see, how he plays. You can't write him off, but he's not my number one pick, I don't think.
Do you think, Chelsea, going about the course there, do you think, I know you know this golf course, do you feel like with the weather and the way the course is right now, it has the runaway effect around the greens? It's not going to stop and hold. It will run away?
So I actually talked to the superintendent this morning, and I asked him, how are the greens? How are they rolling? And he said, right now we're cautious with the greens, because when they get them rolling, it's almost impossible to stop them. So I think the first round, they're going to be a little bit more cautious to kind of see how these guys attack it. I think it's not necessarily a long course, so they will have those shorter irons in, which will make it a little bit easier for them versus someone like me playing it out there where I'm like, this is such a hard course. I think they'll kind of have, that leg up. But I think it's really going to depend, one, on the wind, and two, kind of what they do to those greens the next few days. But I think the first day they're going to kind of be really cautious about what they do and how fast they have them rolling.
Right, so your Tier A pick, he was actually our number one pick for this week as well when we re-ranked the field, which is no surprise.
Right.
Justin Johnson. Right. Tier B, and that's what I was saying, like sometimes it gets harder when you work down the tiers, but when you have a field of this caliber, you have to, it's like you want to pick 5 different people in each tier. So it's like coming up with your reasons for whoever. But which guy are you going with for Tier B?
So you guys might think this is maybe an off pick, but I actually took Abram Answer. Again, I have said this, I think in every tier I've said, but it's all about iron precision. I am Team Mura over here, and that is what Answer plays. And I actually was, on the range today watching him hit, and it was incredible. So that's who I picked. My second favorite was probably Finau, maybe just because I'm rooting for him so dang hard to win. But yeah, I had to go with Abram.
Okay.
I'm rooting for Finau, as everybody is as well. Chelsea, your pick, Abraham Answer. I was hoping you weren't going to say that, because I took 3 statistics this week, and I'm not a huge stat guy either. I use it about 20%, but I took driving off the tee this week, proximity with the irons, as you've already talked about. You're big on the sound, big on the iron play, and putting. And that thing combined, Abraham Answer on the tour is like number 2. So this is a really good pick for this week. And he's actually one of our Sizzlers this week, Diane. Is that right?
He is a Sizzler. He's number 7 in the stat category. We're not getting too carried away here. But he is still, that's amazing. Chelsea, the thing about Answer as well is with the undulation in the greens at Concession, I've heard comparisons to Augusta National. And Jack kind of drawing influence from Augusta National, and you have to see how Answer played at the Masters in November. Obviously completely different time of the year. However, for 3 solid days, he handled those greens really well. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, there might be a little bit of a spark that comes to him, and this could be, the green condition that he thrives on.
When you talk about the greens, I had a chance today to talk with Chris Cochran, who is one of the senior designers at the Nicklaus Companies, and actually designed the Concession golf course with Jack and Tony. And he said the green structures they took them kind of back old school. Jack really wanted to go kind of to some of his older designs where like you see those runoffs and you feel like, you have to kind of walk around the course to feel the undulation, and you kind of get that old school feel. So it's definitely, kind of relates to exactly what you just said.
Okay, good, right? Abraham Answer, good pick.
Yeah.
The good thing for you, Chelsea, is when you pick someone like Answer, we're probably not going to pick him, so you've got him. So that's because we don't want to copy you,
Right.
And I need to win. I'm being totally honest here. I need to win because it's okay. As I said, I pick with my heart, and I'll never change.
She doesn't like what she's saying. She doesn't like the text of the leaderboard when I send them to, and I have little all sorts of artwork put on with Diane arrows down here.
I'm hoping for beginner's luck over here. So.
I know. The thing is, I always get my boyfriend to play in the game as well, and he's just like, "Man, let me beat you. Like, you're so bad. I don't care about anyone else." else. Like, I just want to beat you. Anyway, whatever. Okay then. So on to tier C.
Yes.
Who are you picking?
So I'm going with Colin Morikawa. This one, like you said, was really hard for me, but watching Colin win and watching the precision that he has in his iron game, that was the number one reason why I picked him this week. I also got to see an absolutely incredible moment this week between him and Paul Azinger. They were on the 18th green, and I had just done an interview with Paul, and Paul actually walked over to Colin because Colin was walking up behind us, and Colin and his caddy stopped. And Paul was literally showing him, one of these infamous shots, and he was literally kind of teaching him how to hit the right shot out there at Concession, with Paul being a member, and obviously a former PGA Tour winner. It was just one of the coolest moments. And Colin kind of looked a little bit timid at first, but as they kind of progressed, he was like hitting these shots that were like absolutely incredible. And I think, just him being there and being open and kind of getting that knowledge from kind of some of, the greater tour players, I think that, was a really cool moment. I think kind of showed a lot on his end. And his iron game, I mean, it's phenomenal. The way you just listen to him hit it, I was like, oh, so he was my pick this week.
Well, I know Alex is going to have something to say about this pick, and it's nothing to do with the irons, but another club in the park.
No, well, the advantage that we have over you, Chelsea, but you may have an advantage over us because you're actually there, but you have to lock your picks in today, and we actually get a day and a half now to think about our picks. But I love Colin Morikawa. He won the PGA, my tournament, so to speak, but he has changed his putting grip. He's gone to that right-hand saw grip. He's 185th in 5 foot and in putting on the tour. He's really sort of out of sorts. And I told Diane on this show yesterday, I said, I'm not putting Morikawa back in the top 10. He's one of my favorite guys until he can prove to me that he is over this sort of down period with his putting.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see. This is going to be the week that it's definitely put to the test, put it that way. So tier D, and as always, you've got some names in tier D that, people are going to look through that category, and a lot of guys from the European Tour and from other worldwide tours over in the field playing. So there's some interesting names in tier D, but I want to hear who you went with.
Yeah, so I went with a very outward pick. I think this is more of a heart pick, completely not statistical. I actually went with Will Zalatoris. So he, an incredible Korn Ferry Tour player. This is his first WGC. I saw him a few times out there. You can tell he's got a little bit of nerves, but he's like so excited. And so I think he's going to come out and do well this week. I think he's got the energy. I think he's got the heart, and he's obviously shown, some really strong golf in the past. And so he's my last pick.
We're big on Will. We were just talking about him. We're really big on him this week. Yeah.
We did a segment on him yesterday saying maybe 6 months ago he was probably rooming with someone on a Korn Ferry tour, going out and splitting meal checks, and now here he is in the top 80 in the world, top 70 in the world. Chelsea, unfortunately for us, you're on the site, you live there, you've been there, and now you've picked this dynamic team. This is Diane. This is pressure.
Kind of crushing, yeah. But with Will, and we were talking about this, is that it's just incredible that he's, after that top 10 finish at the US Open, and he's been granted this special membership for this PGA Tour season, and he's 48th in the world. I mean, it's unbelievable to think, as El just said, where he was 6 months ago.
It's crazy, and that's why I love golf, because the doors that it opens, and he's just shown so much strength and kind of just perseverance, and that's why I'm pulling for him, and that's really why he was my pick.
Mm-hmm. And the fact he hasn't won, which we were talking about as well, like how consistently good is this guy to have jumped up that much in the world rankings, yet he hasn't had that win, which is coming. I mean, obviously he's got an amazing career ahead of him.
Right. I'm interviewing him tomorrow morning, so I'm very excited about that. So that might have been another reason he was,
Now, Chelsea, when you think about this course, and you touched on Tony Finau, and you said how difficult these greens are. Will guys like Finau, who, look, let's face it, the only club in his bag that he has to conquer is that putter. Do you have to be a strong putter do you find yourself with a ton of long curvy putts, or what kind of putts do you finish up with at Concession?
I feel like this golf course, and this might be a little different from kind of what maybe some of the other people are saying, but for me, it's not almost like if you're a good putter, it's if you're a creative putter, because this golf course is going to give you a number of double breaking putts, maybe even triple breaking putts. I mean, I cannot tell you the number of times I've hit incredible iron shots that have ended up on the wrong side of the green because of the way that they break. And they're almost impossible. And it's just like, how do you get it close enough to make those putts? So I think you're really going to have to be strong, inside 6 feet, but then be really creative on kind of those longer putts. And I think, when you're out there, if you can start strong and making those putts early and kind of gain that confidence, it's obviously going to help as you kind of go through the weekend. But I do think, again, the greens are going to get progressively harder as it goes on, as we know in most tournaments. But I think even out there, it's going to be even a little bit more challenging.
Okay.
I have one more question, Diane. Chelsea, how do you put together a score at Concession? Is it a difficult start, a difficult finish? Is there easy fives? How does one put together a good score at Concession?
So Concession actually is a complete risk reward golf course. There's a few short par fours, specifically number 8, number 12 is one of the shorter ones. Those are it depends how you play them. If you want to go for it, there's a ton of trouble, the water, the wetlands, the Oak Highlands, that all comes into play. So I think it's really all about management, course management. If you can play to the yardages that you feel comfortable with those shots in, that's how you're going to kind of get those good scores. Coming in 18 is a tough par 4. I think it's more about just not starting strong, not finishing strong. I think it's just maintaining a good course management throughout that 18 holes, because this golf course is all about placement, and it's all about leaving yourself the right yardage into those holes that you feel confident to stick it close enough so that you don't have those triple breaking putts or don't find yourselves with those chips. There's one hole out there, I have to talk about it. It's a par 5, it's on the front, and I'm blanking if it's 4 or 5, but the undulation or the elevation into the green, it's one of the most insane greens I've seen, and it's so narrow, but it's so wide, and it's like you have to hit just the most perfect iron shot to get it to stay, and then let alone make the putt. And so I think but obviously they'll have those shorter irons in if they're not going for it. So I think it's really just about leaving it, course management.
Okay.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming on our show. Thank you for playing our game with us this week. I hope you win. I tell that to all of our celebrity guests.
I do too.
I would love to see you win it, and tell everybody about our game, and they can come and play with us if they want to.
Yes, I will kind of encourage my group. We always love kind of getting in on the action and doing that. So I definitely will share. And thank you guys so much for having me on. This was so much fun, and would love to come back sometime soon.
Good. And we can follow along. You're actually working for the PGA Tour and doing a lot of the social media for the WGC Workday Championship. So we can catch you doing all your stuff there.
Yes, come say hello, come follow along.
Good. Right, Chelsea, thank you so much. Good luck this week.
Thanks, guys.
We are on to the dark horse picks for the WGC at Concession this week. We did the celebrity showdown with Chelsea Pizzola and Jay Kaplan missing in action. Were you just too intimidated?
Yeah, Chelsea just has me in a tizzy. I was very intimidated with her being on. She seems like a worthy opponent. But based on the scoring of the celebrities, I have nothing to be afraid of. Right.
Well, we'll see how we get on this week in the Celebrity Showdown on the SG Tour app. You're currently in second place behind Elk. We're not even going to talk about the scores again because it just gets me down. Anyway, I look forward to seeing your team. But for now, we're all about those dark horse picks. And, well, we were talking about this off air. We love the fact that for the WGC, there's a lot of names popping up that maybe don't play on the PGA Tour week after week.
Yeah, this is one reason I really like the WGC. When Greg Norman kind of dreamed up this concept, and then Tim Fincham, who was the PGA Tour commissioner at the time, kind of took it, reworked it, introduced the WGC, and now it's become a really good part of every season. And one of the good reasons is these European guys or these guys that play around the world that maybe we haven't heard of sort of get introduced to the PGA Tour through these events. So that's the case this week for sure.
And top 50 in the world gets into this event. And there's a lot of guys that have recently kind of jumped into that top 50 that maybe play in Europe, have done the Middle Eastern events, you know, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi, and have had good finishes. So we have 3 of them, actually. The 3 guys that we've picked are all guys that are coming over after playing European Tour. And you know, it's just cool. There's no cut in the WGCs. So it's just a chance maybe to see these guys perform over 4 days and get those results.
Yeah, and it's a big deal for them. I mean, every player in the world wants to qualify for the PGA Tour. It's the most elite tour in golf. Everybody knows that. So for these guys, there's a high motivation factor, maybe even more than most of the players in the event, because sometimes it just feels like another event for the PGA Tour players. But these guys come over here thinking, this might be my entree to getting on the big tour and making a name for themselves. So we'll see some of that this week.
And of course, a lot of the guys will follow the PGA Tour week after week. And it's got to be great to be playing with John Ram and Xander Schauffele and Dustin Johnson and these big names that they do watch on the PGA Tour every single week. And of course, we know how well they're all performing. Yes. So we've got 3 dark horses. I'm going to do 1. You have 2. Would you like, why don't you do 1? I'll do mine, then you do your last one. Okay.
I like when you do alternate shots. So I'm going to start with a South African player, younger guy, has been playing on the European Tour. You know, I started looking at numbers. I mean, this is a numbers-based thing for us, right? We run our algorithm, we see numbers. This guy and the guy that I'm going to pick after your pick, I wouldn't say they have the best numbers. Usually I don't get kind of lured in. But you and I talked about sort of introducing some of these guys, and you just never know who the next guy is. So this guy's a South African. I like the way he ranks in proximity to the hole. He's had some success. He's won once on the European Tour. That was in 2019. My first pick is the South African Erik van Rooyen.
Okay, 200 to 1 as well. So definitely worthy of a dark horse pick. We'll talk more about that in a minute when I make my guy. But looking at his numbers, I mean, is there anything in particular that stands out in his game that will be good for Concession?
Well, I mean, he's at a disadvantage, obviously, because very few guys on the regular tour have played Concession. So maybe this guy's been snooping around Concession and nobody knows it. If he hasn't, he's going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage. He's a pretty good putter, and he ranks 77th on the European Tour in proximity to the hole. So he's going to be within range if he's going to make a few putts. Let's hope he does, and for my case. Has a little bit of trouble with the short ones, which isn't great. So maybe he'll drain a few long ones, which would be great. Hint, hint. So let's just keep an eye on him. He's a slender South African, and I like what I'm seeing out of him recently.
He likes to wear joggers too. I remember seeing some fashion choices of Erik van Rooyen's before.
Is it too late to change my mind now that I know that fact?
Okay, my dark horse pick, I'm just going to lay my cards on the table. He's 75 to 1. I know you're going to have a little bit of an issue with that. But it's a WGC, remember. We don't have like extraordinary high odds because these are the elite players in the world. So I think 75 to 1 is pretty good.
Okay, here we go. Here's the rationalization. All right, go ahead.
Scottish, right?
Uh-huh.
We know that I like to pick with my heart. However, remember I picked Martin Laird for Vegas because he was Scottish. So I'm kind of hoping that we're on the same path. This guy's 24 years old. He's from a town in Scotland called Oban. He is 43 in the official world golf ranking, which that in itself is just amazing. What a fantastic position to be ranked in the world. He's had 1 win on the European Tour, and in 2019 won Rookie of the Year. Also in 2019, he finished tied for 6th at the Open at Royal Portrush, Now, recently, this guy has been playing, he did the Middle East. He finished 3rd in Dubai, 16th in Abu Dhabi. And looking at his stats, his proximity to the hole, like that greens in regulation, accuracy stat is his thing, which I think is going to put him in good stead for this week. So my dark horse pick is Robert McIntyre.
Wow.
You like that?
Yeah, I like the fact that you're picking a Scottish guy. Maybe he's the next Scottish guy once Russell Knox gives up the throne, which will probably be a very long time. But I like that you're going with the blue and white this week.
The thing about Robert McIntyre is he's never played in like a standard PGA Tour event before, but he has played in majors and WGCs, finishing tied for 6th at the Open Championship. Okay, it was in Northern Ireland, and there's a bit of a correlation between playing in Scotland and playing over there. But he played in the WGC HSBC Champions in 2020 and finished T17. So it's not like he's not used to playing against big names on the worldwide stage. I don't think he's going to be fazed by it at all. I've never met him, but from seeing his interviews and reading so much about him, watching his demeanour on the course, nothing phases him. He's like very light-hearted, kind of water off a duck's back. So I think that it could be a really, really great week for Robert McIntyre.
It's hard for me to believe that you've never met him. I just figured like all Scottish people know each other.
He's only 24 and he's only been playing, 2 years on the European Tour.
Well,
so, yeah.
This will be a good introduction for the world this week. He is a very good player, and he might be the next Scottish guy that everybody's speaking of.
Yeah. Okay, your third and final dark horse pick.
So my third pick has terrible stats. I'm just going to lay it out on the line. But sometimes you just go with your gut. You go with your heart, I go with my gut. This guy had a phenomenal 2019. He finished 3rd in the race to Dubai in Europe. He had a win, a 2nd place finish, and 3 3rd place finishes. So he's had recent success. He's coming in, finishing a T6 3 weeks ago. I like this guy. He's Austrian. There's something intriguing about Austrian players. I always think of like James Bond villains, but in this case, obviously his hobby is skiing. That goes without saying really, but I feel like I always got to throw that out there. So he's a good athlete. This guy, his numbers don't warrant him to even be in this field if you're really looking at his stats, but he does rank 41st in the world. So he's on a climb towards the top. This is a big week for him. He knows he's going to make the cut. He knows it's a chance to go ahead and get some points. Even recently on the PGA Tour, he finished 4th at the RSM last November. So there's a comfort level here with this guy. Look out for Bernd Wiesberger.
I like it, and 125 to 1. He actually had a top 10 finish at a WGC, I think it was 2018. So again, he's played against all of these guys a lot before. It's not like he is going to be fazed by the field whatsoever. And as you say, those numbers, and it's always hard when you have the guys that don't play full time on the PGA Tour because their stats aren't going to be representative of what they're doing. So sometimes you have to go with your gut, Jay. I support that fully.
I have a lot of gut to go with, Diane. Okay. So it should be a winner this week.
All right. So the WGC first one of 2021, the Workday Championship at Concession. I'm excited to see this course. Hearing that it's one of the toughest courses in America, I think this thing is going to be a beast, especially around the greens. But we have all that to look forward to over the course of 4 days. Remember, no cut as well. So it's the start of the Florida swing on the PGA Tour. Next week, it's the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill, which is always such a special event. And then we're building up to the Players' Championship right after that. As always, we will be here with our tour report to help you with course analysis, all the stats, and our re-ranked field for your picks. And you can play along on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app as well. Come against us in the Celebrity Showdown this week and see how you get on. And as I said, we'll be back next week for Bay Hill and our tour report.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game, pick 4 players, and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.